A Stranger Things Season 5 trailer has just been released, and after almost 3 whole years, we finally got our first glimpse into what's on the horizon in the final season. I know, I can't believe it's been that long either. Whilst this wasn't a fully fleshed out trailer that gave us a true insight into the story, it was more of a date announcement, so there weren't loads of clips. However, we did get some new clips within it that we can definitely break down and dive into. So with that, let's jump into the trailer, break it down, and I'll also give my theories and predictions on what I think could happen next. So let's get into it. This video is going to contain spoilers on the previous season, so I'm warning you now. So first off, I want to start with the dialogue that was present throughout the entirety of the trailer. There were only 2 people that spoke on 2 separate occasions. The first was Joyce and the second was Will. Will spoke twice actually. Once in response to Joyce's conversation over the montage of clips from Season 1 to Season 4, and secondly when he was responding to something that was directly in front of him in the present day. Joyce said to Will, "I think about that night all the time, the night it came for you, the night it all started." Within this scene, it looked like it was purely a reflective scene where the mother and son were discussing what's happened over the years and the chaos that the world now found itself in. During the previous season, we didn't actually get much of Will and Joyce, so this will almost feel like a full circle moment in going back to how things were in the first season with their relationship. I think this could be before they're about to embark on the mission that we're clearly seeing taking place in the final part of the trailer when Will was in a panicked state and they were all inside of a facility. This conversation could be from the evening before, as that's when conversations like that tend to happen in TV series and movies. I think there'll be speculation from Joyce, and I think her mentioning that she's been thinking about it is because of the large ripple effect that Will being taken has ultimately had on Hawkins, and how now the gateway to the Upside Down was breached and that the 2 worlds had essentially collided, basically bringing hell to Earth. So she could be wanting to understand why Will was taken all of those years ago and what his actual importance was. As Joyce was speaking those words, there was a selection of clips that were ranging from Season 1 all the way through to the most recent season, so it showed that she was definitely in a reflective state. Will responded and said, "Everything changed, we failed, but we need to be ready." Him saying everything changed is most likely him referring to the fact that Vecna was successful in opening the gateway to the Upside Down, and in the years that have passed since we last saw them, it's most likely changed the way that everybody lives. Hence why he also said, "We failed," because they were on the cusp of defeating Vecna, and they believed that they were going to stop the gateway from being opened. I also think it's him looking at the fact that Eddie was killed, and also that Max ended up losing her vision and being in a critical condition. With him saying, "But we need to be ready," I think this is most likely in response to the war with the Upside Down that's now on the horizon, and that they're not necessarily waiting, but they're anticipating when the first move is going to be made for the demo creatures to be unleashed into the world. I also think it's them talking about how they don't trust the authorities, because I imagine the army is going to have taken over, and even though they've got the weapons, they won't have the brains to win this war. So that opening scene really laid the foundations down for that reflective state that I imagine the overarching theme of the final season is going to have, and that burning question of why it was that Will was so important and what his connection to the Mind Flayer and the Upside Down truly means. So I think that tone is going to be an interesting one to follow. It's been on the back burner since he was taken in Season 1, so it'll be interesting seeing it actually being developed when the first volume of the season returns. When it came to the new clips that featured in the trailer, it looked like there was one of Jonathan and I'm going to imagine Steve in the forest. Or it could actually be Will in the distance and Jonathan walking towards him. But the main thing this shows us in the trailer is that the characters could still be living on the edge of town and civilians are almost being forced to live in this post-apocalyptic state following the gateway to the Upside Down being opened. The next new clip that we got was of Joyce standing front and center with an axe inside of a barn looking like she was ready to fight something off. In the background it looked like there was Robin on the right, Will on the left and 2 others behind. The multicolored shirt up high makes me think that it could be Max as it's an outfit that we've seen her wear before, but I doubt that's the case, as later on in the trailer we meet this new guy that's got a colored shirt on, so it's most likely him. This was then followed by thumping on the door, and I think this could be the return of the Demogorgon, or I actually think it could be a Demodog. I reckon a Demogorgon could knock that door down with ease, but the way that it was thumping, it was like a dog barging into it and trying to get it open. You never know, it could even be a new type of demo creature, as I feel like there's definitely going to be new ones introduced. After this, there was then a shot of Mike's mother and his younger sister Holly Wheeler as the lights were flickering, and we know what that image is synonymous with: Demogorgons arriving and entering the scene. That scared look on their faces showed that they're most definitely going to be in danger at that point. Following this, there was also a shot of Max and Lucas, with Lucas sitting next to Max and almost praying, showing that even though the new season is going to be a few years in the future, Max looks like she could still be in a comatose state. Or this could be the show pulling the wool over our eyes, and Max could have actually woken up and now be able to communicate again. But because the last time we saw her she was bedbound, the show could be tricking us. I reckon she could still be in a comatose state, but she will eventually wake up. We know that she has a deep-rooted connection to the Upside Down following everything that happened with Vecna in Season 4, so that's something that has to be explored. With her potentially losing her vision, I feel like she's going to be this seer-like figure that's able to see into the future slightly, or at least be this all-knowing being when it comes to the Upside Down and what the creatures are going to be doing. There was also then a clip of Steve and Dustin exploring the depths of the Upside Down, just like what they did in the previous season. The flooring makes me feel like it could be some kind of hospital or school. After that, there was then a scene of Eleven and Hopper together, with Eleven having one of her nosebleeds and looking like she was about to scream. There were red lights flashing everywhere and Hopper was dressed all in black, so I'm gonna guess that they've broken into a facility of some kind and it's all gone south. I reckon there'll be devastation in this scene too, with Eleven killing whatever's in front of her. You don't get an 11 nosebleed, a scream and no bodies. The next clip that we got was arguably one of the most interesting frames in the trailer. We saw the hive mind approach that the Upside Down has, but there was this fleshy goo that was all around the wall of the Upside Down, almost teasing a new type of creature that could be on the horizon. It looks like it could potentially be Nancy and Jonathan that stumble across this, but I wonder what type of creature could be growing inside the walls of the Upside Down. Could we see where Demogorgons actually come from? Is it these fleshy sacks that look like are stuck in the walls? Following this, there was then a scene where it looked like there was Mike, Nancy, and Jonathan. There was also a dead soldier that was on the floor, so I'm going to imagine that this is all taking place at the same time as when Hopper was with Eleven earlier on in the trailer, as it seems like a facility that's been broken into. There were also 3 new characters that we hadn't seen before, except Multicolored Man from earlier on in the trailer, so these people could well be in the barn that Joyce was in. This could also be where we see what they're actually hiding from in the barn, especially if it ends up chasing after them. The way that their eyes are positioned, it's screaming Demogorgon as they're looking up to it, and they're normally significantly taller than humans. Accompanying this was the ground shaking and opening up to a thick red glow, where I imagine the creatures from the Upside Down are going to come up and cause absolute terror. The most impactful clip in this trailer came right at the end though, when Will was standing there screaming, "Run, run," as his entire body was basically shaking. He was looking up extremely high during this scene, so I wonder if this could be the Mind Flayer. We didn't really see the Mind Flayer in the most recent season, and we know that Will is deeply connected to the Flayer of all things. If it were a Demogorgon, then I feel the panic would be there, but not necessarily that sheer amount of panic that he had, so it'll be interesting to see what it is. Then the trailer essentially showed us that the season's gonna split into 3 different volumes. No surprise, it's the modern approach, right? And it's going to be released on November the 26th, then Christmas Day, and then New Year's Eve for the finale. So that's the holiday period taken over with Stranger Things. Whilst this was only a teaser trailer because it was mainly a date announcement, I feel like there were enough clips to capture the tone that we can expect, and the fact that this season's really going to bring about the end in the most epic of fashions. I think we're going to see characters return, many deaths on the horizon, new creatures, and long-standing questions finally being answered. So, there you have it. What do you think will happen? Share your thoughts in the comments. As always, thanks for tuning into the video and I'll see you in the next one.